Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming to the Psychology of Popularity. I am glad that you selected this course. I'm excited to tell about work, and I've been got a lot of research have been in those area of popularity. But when I talk about popularity, a lot of people sometimes say and really subject people study in psychology isn't just something that's important at high school. It does. What difference does this really make in the real world? So maybe a good way to start and for us to talk a little about how popularity really does play an important role. And it plays an important role actually both in the entire lifespan. So, first of all, of course, the thing about the scare about popularity, we think about children. And in these graphics you can see even start in very young ages, and the graphics in the from over 30 years ago. Children spent more time than working in your house, surrounded by their peers, surrounded by adults. And you can see here that between the age of about 2 all the way until pre-adolescence, there's so dramatic and creating trending for kids for interact with their peers. So of course, if for interaction are awarenesses default filed with visualization with going to the head, a big effect with the development child. What you don't see after for these graphics is that we are turned just integrated geometry into adolescence. So once kids get in adolescence, of course, totally unschooled to spend time with adults, and we see even increases in amount of time spent with peers. In fact, what we know that starting at age of 3, young children can already tell you with children and most popular, with kind of least popular, and with care and a note of age with air period at all. So starting from very early of childhood, popularity becomes a really important contrast, a variable that really had important over time. Now once we pass forward childhood and we get into adolescence, where actually some biological reason while popularity starting playing a big role. So what you can see here, the graphics on the brain. And what we now know is from time the pubertal translation start. Adolescent's brain and a mentor, but the fourth brain that monitor an extra time. So it actually starts in the back and the development of the brain of a moving up forward. So that the means in the start parts on the brain that a development the most of parts that are below the cortex. In other words, the part were shared with most mammals, and choose the are kind of instinctual drives the things you want like quick rewards. And one of choose peace and the limbic system was really important in this desire for social rewards. And the reason why in adolescence they think both push and the brain telling us to go out like it's social rewards, and because it was happening and develop autonomy from adults. It's basically thinks us, your parents aren't at school anymore. You want to be able to go out and learn how to be self-sufficient. You're not going to be taken care of by your parents of the best rest of your life. So our brains make a really interested at hiding out the peers, being excluded about what happens with peers. And as a result, we tend to be very interested in whatever we can make do as they get over from people our age. And simultaneously, we become less interested in adults, so we're totally natural. Unfortunately, as develops before with part on the brain in the front helps us to expert control over the impulses and keep them from doing the impulsive. That doesn't develop until later, so we don't really see it happen with my adolescence. There's a lot of risk-taker behaviors. So it's why the think hurts increase in a desire to the in peers do care peers in adults. So with a bad part and happening as we grow up. And of course, when I think about adults, usually the thing we remember the most on the thing and happened with our parents of height and the happened with our course of high school. But we really think about the was popular, how much a person in front of our peers. How much can I make sure and that I meet people to be friends and or date, and it becomes really important. So that about with adults. Well, I mean, one interesting thing about adults, for some reason, adults love talking about the three adolescents in terms of popularity. And if you look at what you see on TV or song or especially movies over here, their tone of movies, the kind of bright of back at truth and times in adolescence. And we really don't talk about peers, a relationship and friendship. Whereas there sound we're really interested in that and that's from nostalgic while. But maybe there are reasons why of care about popularity as adults. What has to do with a present day? If you think about it, where a lot of days there our adulthood life we are still thinking about and probably really affected by popularity. And hopefully we're for your hair. Your hair so that we can get an idea about a popularity has affecting how happy you're at today, how successful you're today and how relationship and going today. There are a lot of different ways we see this and probably now much more than he see for decades years. We see all reflects in social media. So social media is really pulling us all back into adults' world of caring about this responded to our Facebook like that post and how many Twitter's followers we have. And with picture we put up and how many people have paid attention with that. It's kind of a way of playing out an idea of popularity all over again, but it's going and way at explicit and we miserable and the numbers next to it. And people sometimes get very hyped about now our the polls have been paid attention to. Always seems to try and get more relationships for a social media, so it's affecting us adults. It's centrally affecting where adolescents growing up today, but it also affecting with adults. Another way we're really seeing a popularity playing a role and big fixation with celebrities. And if you think about it, celebrities are kind of popular kids, adults, high school. For some reason, and all you have to do to go to grocery store and kind of all the magazine here. A lot of this stream from the things we learn about popularity. Of course, for views about the parents and adulthood, they also at the parenting and something really thinking and about popularity as well. We know we add a way that experience popularity and child and result to the kind of parents you are. And we also know that affect your own children's level of popularity whether they don't school and if you don't do well with peers. We also know that how kids and the popularity today experience the world of social media is very different and how it's detailed things back at then we all kids way before social media and ever got started. So there is something we're going to talk about as well. So overall, what we're going to talk about was so rest, of course, and especially and popularity is so important. Why it's this something what seem to care so much about their young and contagious play out the difference what adulthood. We're going to talk also about how a study popularity scientifical and using then scientific research. What do we know about this predict and popular across a lot of different scenes and across the lifespan? and how popularity predicts our outcomes overall. And we're going to talk about and also things on the course on the next lectures. So thanks again for joining. Really excited you have excited to keep on going with a next clip.